All the time when I've been growing up, I've been told that I need to be a proper lady, which is why that I went through all the time to learn ballet. But as you can see, I'm not very flexible. I can't even do the splits. Not even once. They're actually really bad. I have this entire couch to cover it just because I can't do the splits. Look, really, this is as far as it goes. And that's not even that impressive, considering I spent at least one full calendar year in ballet class trying to learn all the tips and tricks. And look, this is my most impressive skill. Whee! But that's about it. The thing about being a girl is that you're told that you need to be prim and proper and nice and clean. The thing is, there's one thing I've always wanted to do in this entire world, and it's to jump over this couch. And I know it might sound crazy, but none of my friends want to do it. They all tell me that, hey, isn't that really childish and boring? Well, to that, I say that I think the best way to have fun is to jump over some obstacles. And because it's not track and field, I can't exactly jump over hurdles, but I can jump over this. And I'll show you how with this mighty jump that I did not learn from ballet. Ta-da! Oh! And that, my friends, I call my way of jumping over hurdles. Now, that might not be the most effective way, but it did prove to me that jumping over this couch is more important than listening to what my friends might say about being all prim and proper and doing ballet instead of, I guess, in this case, track and field. So I want to talk to you about a case of the stripes. Now, what happens if I didn't jump over this couch? I might have lived with the knowledge that I never jumped over anything ever. Then how would I know that I'm really good at jumping? I never would know. And that's the same thing. It just happens that something that I like might not be what everyone else likes. But you just need to know that when you like something, you gotta really stick to it. Because I tried ballet and it was not for me. Now, I want to show you what happens when you have a case of the stripes. Specifically, a bad case of stripes. Now, why does this girl have a bad case of the stripes, you might ask? I'd like to say it's because she didn't do something she really liked. And I think we all know what would have happened to my stripes if I didn't jump over this couch. I might have gone full bonkers, man. So I guess we'll find out in A Bad Case of Stripes. Bad Case of Stripes by David Shannon. Camilla Cream loved lima beans, but she never ate them. All of her friends hated lima beans, and she wanted to fit in. Camilla was always worried about what other people thought of her. Today, she was fretting even more than usual. It was her first day of school, and she couldn't decide what to wear. There were so many people to impress. She tried on 42 outfits, but none seemed quite right. She put on a pretty red dress and looked in the mirror. Then she screamed. Her mother ran into the room and screamed too. "Oh my heavens," she cried, "you're completely covered with stripes." This was certainly true. Camilla was striped from head to toe. She looked like a rainbow. Mrs. Cream felt Camilla's forehead. "Do you feel all right?" "I feel fine," Camilla answered, "but just look at me." "You get back in bed this instant," her mother ordered. "You're not going to school today." Camilla was relieved. She didn't want to miss the first day of school, but she was afraid of what the other kids would say. And she had no idea what to wear with those crazy stripes. That afternoon, Dr. Bumble came to examine Camilla. "Most extraordinary," he exclaimed. "I've never seen anything like it. Are you having any coughing, sneezing, runny nose, aches, pains, chills, hot flashes, dizziness, drowsiness, shortness of breath, or uncontrollable twitching?" "No," Camilla told him. "I feel fine." "Well then," Dr. Bumble said, turning to Mrs. Cream, "I don't see any reason why she shouldn't go to school tomorrow. Here's some ointment that should help clear up those stripes in a few days. If it doesn't, you know where to reach me," and off he went. The next day was a disaster. Everyone at school laughed at Camilla. They called her Camilla Crayon and Night of the Living Lollipop. She tried her best to act as if everything was normal. But when the class said the Pledge of Allegiance, her stripes turned red, white, and blue. And she broke out in all stars. The other kids thought this was great. One yelled out, "Let's see some purple polka dots." Sure enough, Camilla turned all purple polka dotty. Someone else shouted, "Checkerboard!" and a pattern of squares covered her skin. Soon, everyone was calling out different shapes and colors, and poor Camilla was changing faster than you can change channels on TV. That night, Mr. Harms, the school principal, called. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Cream," he said. "I'm going to have to ask you to keep Camilla home from school. She's just too much of a distraction." And I've been getting calls from the other parents. They're afraid those stripes might be contagious. Camilla was so embarrassed. She couldn't believe that 2 days ago, everyone liked her. Now, nobody wanted to be in the same room as her. Her father tried to make her feel better. "Is there anything I can get you, sweetheart?" he asked. "No, thank you," sighed Camilla. What she really wanted was for a nice plate of lima beans. But she had been laughed at enough for one day. Well, yes, I see," Dr. Bumble mumbled when Mr. Cream phoned in the next day. "I think I'd better bring the specialists. We'll be right over." About an hour later, Dr. Bumble arrived with 4 people in long white coats. He introduced them to the Creams. "This is Dr. Goop, Dr. Sponge, Dr. Cricket, Dr. Young." Then the specialists went to work on Camilla. They squeezed and jabbed and tapped and tested. It was very uncomfortable. "Well, it's not the mumps," concluded Dr. Grupp. "Or the measles," said Dr. Sponge. "Definitely not chicken pox," put in Dr. Cricket. "Or sunburn," said Dr. Young. "Try this," said the specialists. They handed her a bottle filled with different colored pills. "Take 1 of each before bed," said Dr. Grupp. Then they filed out the front door, followed by Dr. Bumble. That night, Camilla took her medicine. It was awful. When she woke up the next morning, she did feel different. But when she got dressed, her clothes didn't fit right. She looked in the mirror, and there, staring back at her, was a giant, multicolored pill with her face on it. Dr. Bumble rushed over as soon as Mrs. Cream called. But this time, instead of the specialists, he brought the experts. Dr. Guard and Dr. Mellon were the finest scientific minds in the land. Once again, Camilla was poked and prodded, looked at and listened to. The experts wrote down a lot of numbers. Then they huddled together and whispered. Dr. Guard finally spoke. "It might be a virus," he announced with authority. Suddenly, fuzzy little virus balls appeared all over Camilla. "Or possibly a form of bacteria," said Dr. Mellon. Out popped squirrely little bacteria tails. "Or it could be fungus," added Dr. Guard. Instantly, Camilla was covered with different colored fungi blotches. The experts looked at Camilla and then at each other. "We need to go over these numbers back again at the lab," Dr. Guard explained. "We'll call when we know something." But the experts didn't have a clue, much less a cure. By now, the TV news had found out about Camilla. Reporters from every channel were outside her house telling the story of the bizarre case of the incredible changing kid. Soon, a huge crowd was camped out of the front lawn. The Creams were swamped with all kinds of remedies from psychologists, allergists, herbalists, nutritionists, physicists, an old medicine man, a guru, and even a veterinarian. Each so-called cure only added to poor Camilla's strange appearance, until it was hard to even recognize her. She sprouted roots and berries and crystals and feathers in a long furry tail, but nothing worked. One day, a woman who called herself an environmental therapist claimed she could cure Camilla. "Close your eyes," she said, "breathe deeply, and become one with your room." "I wish you hadn't said that," Camilla groaned. Slowly, she started to melt into the walls of her room. Her bed became her mouth, her nose was a dresser, and 2 paintings were her eyes. The therapist screamed and ran out of the house. "What are we going to do?" cried Mrs. Cream. "It just keeps getting worse and worse." She began to sob. At that moment, Mr. Cream heard a quiet little knock at the front door. He opened it, and there stood an old woman who was just as plump and sweet as a strawberry. "Excuse me," she said brightly, "but I think I can help." She went into Camilla's room and looked around. "My goodness," she said with a shake of her head. "What we have is a bad case of stripes. One of the worst I've ever seen." She pulled out a container of small green beans from her bag. "Here," she said. "These might do the trick." "Are those magic beans?" asked Mrs. Cream. "Oh my, no," replied the kind old woman. "There's no such thing. These are just plain old lima beans. I bet you'd like some, wouldn't you?" she asked Camilla. Camilla wanted a big, heaping plate full of lima beans, more than just about anything. But she was afraid to admit it. "Yuck," she said. "No one likes lima beans, especially me." "Oh dear," the old woman said sadly. "I guess I was wrong about you." She put the beans back in her bag and started towards the door. Camilla watched the old woman walk away. Those beans would taste so good, and being laughed at for eating them was nothing compared to what she'd been going through. She finally couldn't stand it. "Wait," she cried. "The truth is, I really love lima beans." "I thought so," the old woman said with a smile. She took a handful of beans and popped them into Camilla's mouth. "Mmm," said Camilla. Suddenly, the branches, feathers, and squiggly tails began to disappear. Then the whole room swirled around. When it stopped, there stood Camilla, and everything was back to normal. "I'm cured," she shouted. "Yes," said the old woman. "I knew the real you was in there somewhere." She patted Camilla on the head. Then she went outside and vanished into the crowd. Afterwards, Camilla wasn't quite the same. Some of the kids at school said she was weird, but she didn't care a bit. She ate all the lima beans she wanted, and she never had a touch of stripes again. So that's what happens when you don't eat lima beans. Do you think the same would happen if I never got to eat broccolis again? Considering that I'm really a big fan of broccolis, I can empathize with Camilla a little bit here. I don't entirely like lima beans either, but you should never judge someone for the things that they like. Now that Camilla's all back to normal, I think it's time we celebrate. Not with all these colors, I'm sure she's had enough. Nor with my 152 box of crayons. I think it's time we celebrate by looking at her in her final form. Oh, so that's a tasty surprise. I'll eat this later. I think it's time to celebrate her colors and the celebration of her evolution to get her back to her original self. I think it's an important lesson that we all understand. It's not okay to hide things, especially when it comes to your love of lima beans, or in my case, broccolis. Always know that it's okay to show what you like, even if it's not the likes of everyone else around you. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content just like this, more on my channel, where I'm gonna teach you all about this new book that I found and why you should like it, and a special activity at the end, all the time. Right now, I want you to think about one thing you super duper like that maybe your brother or sister, or maybe even your friends don't necessarily love. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!